Hey, Freddy DeMarco here for Blackstar Potential, and this lesson is on making country easy. So, easy country guitar. So this is the thing. With the country guitar deal, the three things you have to do: you have to get the cowboy hat, whether you're a girl or a guy. You have to get the snakeskin boots, tight pants, preferably with a belt. You know what? I made a lot of money playing country. It's just a side thing. I dedicated some time to it, and the cool thing about that is if you want to be like a working musician, blues bands, classic rock bands, and country bands will get you some work on the side if it's not even your main thing. So I notice a lot of metal players and hard rock players and even some shredders, they like to kind of learn some blues and some country to get the working thing. And I tell you, I made a lot of money on country just because they're not cheap. So and you have a good time doing it. The guitar is more intellectual than a lot of people think. You have to actually follow the chord changes when you're playing solos, a lot like how jazz is in more sophisticated blues. The pentatonic is still the scale of the day. However, they'll mix a lot of other things in there. So no way is this lesson going to cover everything. But this is great for somebody that wants to just dabble in it and use some of the techniques that they have and be convincing to an extent. You're going to play over a lot of major chords, so let's look at major chords. When major chords play, the little fills you can do right to the chord. So for example, if I have an A chord, I'm going to play an A major pentatonic, and if you don't know what that is, it's simply an F sharp minor pentatonic. So if I look at this chord, that's an A. I play an F sharp minor pentatonic over that. You would think you would play it here, but that doesn't agree with a major chord. So what you do is you can think of it a couple ways. Think of it as the relative minor. If you're not up on theory so much, just put your fourth finger where that A root would be and play that first form pentatonic you know. So what that is like a pedal steel. Like you literally put your finger over the top two strings, the pinky, back pick those two, and let it ring right into the third finger, and the third finger is going to bend up a whole step using these other fingers behind it to help it. So I'll go up an octave. So same thing, just up an octave. So you're bending from here to here. And you briefly are out of tune. While you're doing the bend, it gives it a nice whine, because it whines as this is playing and ringing, these stable notes, and then this twang happens. And you can also fill in using that pentatonic shape. And if the open strings agree to your key, it's cool to pull off to the opens. And I'll play the next string, pluck the open right by it. The one right underneath it. Above it is in pitch, though. And it gives a really weird ring, but it gets that country tone. I'm employing hybrid picking a lot of the time, which just means I'm plucking the pick on a lower string and using my middle finger or my middle and ring fingers and snapping the higher strings. Another thing to cop this style is be able to mute the strings and give these little cluck sounds like this, whether you're doing it with the palm mute or usually with this hand here even. So thumb or the pick is hitting the G string and my middle finger is snapping upward on the B string, and I'm holding that A chord. Or thinking the pentatonic shape. A lot of that, if you can get those ghost notes in there. So you could draw on your 70s and 80s rock style in most modern country, but there is some traditional stuff, and that's kind of what's going on, especially in a medium tempo tune or even a ballad. So if we had, three chords in a key, for example, A major, A, D, and E, I could do that lick off A, off the 5 chord E. Here's E, would be show up here. Put your fourth finger there, do that same lick. So I'm on the 12th fret with my fourth finger. When I go to my D chord, Line up my fourth finger on the fret the D chord's on. Can nail all the changes. So the 2 might be going. Fill. Now, so you don't do the same thing all the time, maybe on one of the chords, if you're just doing some lead fills in the back, do a back rake on them. Another one, I can go right to, let's say, the D chord. If you play this chord, think of it as this finger playing what this finger does, and put your third finger here, so my third finger goes from where the first was up to 2 whole steps. So I'm actually moving up 5 frets, but with the third finger on the A string, and then the first finger holding the part of the chord like this. So it does this. It's called an inversion. And I could do these hammer-on pull-offs as a filler. So I might go for my E chord like this, D chord. For the A chord, I might go back to the... but play it differently than I did, rhythmically, and what order of strings I'm playing, but the same idea off that pentatonic pedal steel than I did over the E string, so over the E chord, so it has a little bit of variation. So any chord like this, you could do this. C, E, if you're not big on the theory and you don't see that scale, just use your ears. Use that second finger, then the fourth finger off these notes, these shapes. The fourth finger on the B string. And do these nice little fills. Think of how like a piano player might fill up a song like that. So that's huge, and I'll use that in my soloing. So if I'm soloing, for example, in A, you go to the E chord, I can go. Now granted, part of the key is that short, that cluck sound that I'm getting from muting with the pick, muting with this finger, and then doing the hybrid, but making those clucks come out. Another nice little pedal steel lick you could do over a chord is just take the basic chord, let's say we're in D, think of it like this. You would have probably learned this chord in your first lesson book as an F. Let's take that up to D and just let them all ring together and back up a fret like this while they're ringing. So my pick's simply doing this. And I'm not releasing the strings, they're all ringing. Go right through the changes with E, D, A. Another run you can do is if let's say you're on G, for example, start on that G and play this pattern. 1, 3, and slide 3 up. 1, 3, 1. And then repeat that. But you'd use second finger there. So if you're on a G chord, you could take off from here. Now, off this chord, let's say C, that same shape can be used. But you have to switch up top. When I connect this C chord to this C, I'll do this. Same fingering as the other one. And now this is where I change. And I'll actually do a third finger and then change that in the slide to the second so I line up to here. Like that same chord we just talked about, but in C in this case. G. C. And you saw I incorporated that earlier concept with the inverted chord. You know, and you got to really look around. The country players are very clever. If they see an open string or a harmonic, here. Well, hey, thanks for joining me for this lesson on Country Guitar Made Easy by Blackstar Potential. Thank you.